Adam is a transformational artist and speaker committed to showing the world what it looks like to choose love over fear in every moment. He continues to achieve this aim via his Deep Dive with Adam Roa podcast and his Art of Choosing Love YouTube show. He was recently recognized by Goalcast as one of the top 33 game changers to watch out for in 2019. His viral poem, You Are What You've Been Looking For, has been viewed more than 180 million times and counting. And tonight he's gonna kick us off with the poem, I Am Enough. Give it up for Adam Roa, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. When asked to do these events and these speaking engagements, I'm often asked to do You Are Who You've Been Looking For, which is the poem that went viral. And something that I find is really important is that we continually step outside of our comfort zones, right? We challenge ourselves. And so I finished a poem 2 days ago that I've never said in front of an audience before. I didn't even have it memorized until hopefully about 20 minutes ago. And so this is just part of me. And the reason I say that is because I know there's a lot of people in here with powerful messages and art on your heart and creativity that's flowing through you in your own unique ways. And if you can find ways to embrace the opportunities to get it wrong, the opportunities to step outside that comfort zone, I find that that's the thing that creates the foundation on which your confidence is built. And so this poem is called I Am Enough. And you are the first audience to ever hear it. Can I have everyone take a nice deep breath in and out? I am enough. But enough of what? Every time I hear those words, I feel like they keep getting stuck up in my head, conflicting with all the words that I've said on repeat for most of my life. Yeah, I haven't been very nice to myself. Bottom to top, I spent most of my time focused on why I was not enough. Flat feet, too slow. Chicken legs won't grow. Like self-deprecation was an occupation. I went pro long ago, and I know that the mind learns through repetition. And no matter how quiet I speak, it's always around to listen. Creating the vision of who I am based on my self-talk. So why not stop speaking what I can't and start speaking what I can and stop all the can nots? Because I got a lot of knots. I thought a lot of thoughts that brought a lot of nada, so I fought to make them stop, and I finally gave my ego what it wanted, and I told it what I am not. I am not dumb. I am not ugly. I am not giving up. I am not weak. I'll get back on my feet no matter how much I slip up. I am not broken. I am not afraid, so when the going gets tough, I can look at what I am not, and it reminds me I am enough. I am enough strength to overcome any obstacle placed in my way. I am enough courage to keep my heart open after heartbreak. I am enough will to get through any hard day. I am enough fun to turn all my work into play. I am enough pride to not be torn down by what people say, and I am enough humility to own up to all my mistakes. And it doesn't take a special ability, just a perspective shift to go through this list and always remember this. For everything I'm not, there's something that I am. For everything I can't, there's something that I can. I can be happy. I can be free. I can be authentic. In fact, I'm already me. And I am grateful for me and everything I am. And for the rest of my life, I will do whatever I can to always remember that, yeah, I am not a lot of stuff. But there's one thing I am enough. Woo!
Wow, that was amazing. Amazing. And that's all we need to do tonight, folks. It's over. Incredible.
And here's the thing, right? Like, here's the thing. I messed up one line in there. I messed up a line in there. That's gonna bug me. Like, it's gonna bug me. I'm gonna think about that. I'm thinking about it right now. I'm sharing that because most of you have no idea, maybe like even noticed it. But again, that's part of the stepping outside the comfort zone. That's the part where we grow, and that's the part that I think about and be like, okay, that happened, why did that happen, et cetera, and that's how I grow as an artist. So I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Whew, so good to have you here, man. And you know, that is so perfect, really, from my perspective, that happened. Because when I think of you, I think of vulnerability and vulnerably sharing, which is something you do a lot of.
Yeah, also called crying. Do a lot of,
AKA weeping like a little girl. Oh man, but you know,
and little boys, you can cry if you're a little boy.
that's true.
Too.
That's right. That's right. See, that's just like instantly how we go to that.
It's held in the collective.
It's held in the collective. Yeah. So speaking of weeping like a little boy, why don't we just start there with, you know, everyone all together now. Let it out. Let's all cry. You can cry on cue. So, you know, let's talk a little bit about all your vulnerable shares, man. There's so many, and it's such a powerful place to go. You know, your show, I know the times I've tuned into that. It's so powerful, and I'd just like to hear how that journey's been from your perspective.
The whole journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, The Art of Choosing Love is my YouTube show, and that started because I went through a breakup. I went through a breakup with a woman that I was dating for nearly 10 years.
Wow.
And we never fought. We didn't fight at all. And when we had our disagreements, we would find our way back to each other pretty quickly. And for some reason, there was this weeks-long experience of not being on the same page. And it all came to a head, and it was like, okay, something's going on here. This is not like us. So let's do what we always do in these moments of not knowing, and let's go into a plant medicine ceremony. And let's take it to higher consciousness and just ask what's going on. Help us see what we can't seem to see. And in that ceremony, we were in silence, and we were sitting across from each other and meditating, and we both separately received the message that it was time to separate.
Wow.
And more deeply understand who we were individually, more deeply understand what's going on in the collective, because we had grown over 10 years into this bubble of safety for each other. And in hindsight, I can even look back and see how I thought I was safe on the planet, like just in general. I'm like, yeah, this is great, it's awesome. And then after the breakup, I realized just how unsafe I really have felt, from a combination of just my upbringing, you know, some sexual abuse to you know, I used to get disciplined by my father with belts and things. So like just this feeling of not being safe on the planet that I thought was gone, but I had just found safety in the relationship. So that's part of the evolution of what I went through. Anyway, to come back to the point, the day after, so we're the kind of people who immediately do that. So literally at the end of that medicine ceremony, at the very end of it, we recorded a podcast for my podcast, The Deep Dive, separating and ending our relationship and released
10 years like that.
Yeah, because it was a clear, I mean, we both got the message, and it was super clear. And then the next day I was meditating and I was crying like a little boy. And like a voice in my head said, film everything, film it all. And I didn't know what that meant, but I called up my friend and hired another cameraman, and we just started filming everything. And we were filming for 6 weeks before I even knew what we were filming. I didn't actually have an idea for a show. Wow. I just started filming everything because that was, again, the directions. Yeah. So yeah, that process unfolded, what it looks like to go through a breakup after 10 years together. And how I explain this to people is, you know, they say that every 7 years, every cell in your body is new. So that means that every cell in my body had formed while in relationship with her. Wow. So my entire being knew her. And the process of unraveling that and untethering that has and continues to be really interesting. You know, she just got married.
I saw this posted on, because you guys did this incredibly beautiful conscious uncoupling, you know, public display. I thought it was absolutely beautiful and such a great example. And then I thought it was so funny. I just saw it, I think, this morning or last night, her announcing that she got married. I'm like, whoa, like, and then instantly, of course, I knew you were going to be here today, and I was thinking, I wonder
I'm gonna make him cry.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get those tears easier than I thought. Like, this is too easy.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, I'm just please go on and share how that's you're not even crying. So that's
Yeah. Well, I had this, to give you an idea of the show, the show, The Art of Choosing Love, became this conscious reality show. And I've been a inspirational speaker and a coach for many years. And I just realized that art is a technology. It really is. Human beings are predisposed to receive art at an emotional level. And what's happening on the planet right now is that we have a collective that's so afraid to feel that systems have been created and generated in order to keep people from feeling. The foods that are sold to us, the fluorides in the water, the media that's everywhere, the ADD style editing in movies, like all of it is designed to numb us out so we don't have to feel. And I don't think that is an Illuminati conspiracy theory thing. I think that's a supply and demand thing for people who don't want to experience the pain of feeling. And so I think that for me, I shut down emotionally at a really young age. And so my kind of karmic path is opening up my heart again. And part of my process to doing that is knowing that it's safe for me to do that by being as vulnerable and authentic as I possibly can and being like, wow, I'm still here. People showed up to listen to you talk at least, and some of them are for me probably. You know what I mean? Like that there's this thing. And so the show became, how can we be as authentic as possible? And I had an agreement that I made with my cameraman. And I said, the more awkward, the more uncomfortable that a situation seems, put a camera on it. Yeah. And I said, I will never tell you not to film it. Wow. I will never tell you not to film it. And that was my way of making sure I didn't have a safety net. I couldn't like hide in a car and cry by myself or something. Like it was anything was fair game. And so that show was very healing for me in a lot of ways. But one of the episodes was I got a call from my ex. And she would hate if I said that. My previous partner.
she's still in there.
And oh yeah, she helped shape me into the man I am. I will forever have gratitude for that.
Absolutely.
And I think that she called me up and let me know that she had slept with someone else for the first time. And I got off that phone call and I walked out and I said, guys, grab the cameras. And we walked outside and I sat in the grass and they just turned the cameras on and just started asking me questions about it. And I processed that experience in real time. And one of the things that's very true now that I said then in the moment was, I hope it was a better sexual experience than anything I ever gave her.
Wow.
Because why would I hope for less?
Yeah.
Like, why would I want her to feel unloved? Why would I want her to feel unsatisfied? Why would I want anything? Like, I hope that it's a continual up level for her. And part of me being able to feel that way, I feel like, is my own level of self-worth. You know what I mean? When we aren't making our value based on other people's opinions and perspectives and all those things, we can have such a deeper level of excitement for other people's joy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredibly powerful. Like, I so relate to that as someone who has, experienced and experimented with open relationships and experiencing compersion as opposed to jealousy. Like, hey, I'm excited for you if you're excited about connecting with someone else. And some people look at me like I've got two heads when, 3 heads, 4 heads, 5, I don't know. Like, it's just absolutely crazy. And it really is, I think it comes from getting to a point, like you just said, where you're so comfortable in yourself. You're so, like, no matter what happens, you're always a complete unique emanation of source. You are beautiful and irreplaceable, and there's so many variations that can be explored and experimented with in reality. Why would I ever, if you unconditional love, you really want for them what they want for themselves.
And I think there's an aspect of the individuality of each human being. Like, I think that polyamory, for example, one of the things that has bothered me about like the poly community is there's a lot of people who seem to hold it as a more enlightened state of being, right? Like this idea that the only reason why you wouldn't want your partner to sleep with someone else is because you have fear-based programming around control and jealousy and whatever, and I just don't buy that. I think that there are some human beings who are, their karmic path of their evolution holds more growth in a monogamous partnership, and so therefore they're coded to want monogamy, versus other people where the open relating dynamics are going to hold the most potential for evolution.
Yeah, and I think that's really the key thing is when you start understanding that your relationship is about evolution and growth, not necessarily about being just happy and safe and comfortable. You really are getting the message, I believe, with what it's designed for. It's meant to stimulate growth. I believe we come together for however long that growth it takes to fully be realized, and then a natural separation occurs. In your case, because you two are so tuned in, after 10 years, you both got the message, you instantly took the leap without a lot of back and forth stuff like, so many do. Whereas, a lot of times people, it's like you get comfortable, familiar, I'm afraid of being alone, I don't have the self-worth, I'll never get someone as good again, yada, yada, yada. And then you try and force to stay in that situation after all the growth potential has been realized, and that's when it gets really uncomfortable and ugly, I believe.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's funny because I'm going through another breakup now.
Oh, you're getting good at this.
I'm getting great at
10
this.
year to what, 1 year?
Yeah, this is the new show. I have to go through a breakup where there's no show.
Yeah, right, okay. Fair enough.
No, I dated a woman for a year, slightly over a year actually, and like as we speak in the navigation of that uncoupling process, and this is my first experience because the Azrael one was relatively like what I'd call clean, and we were amicable about it and all the things, and then this one is my first experience of like we broke up, but then we don't really want to be broken up, and then we got back, and then and now we're blocked on social media.
Oh.
So like that's, you know what I mean? Like that's just, and
I've been there.
I'm figuring out.
I'm blocked a few places. A few portals I can no longer get in.
And it's yeah, and so like that's my first experience of that. I've never experienced anything quite like that before, and I'm doing the best that I can to choose love in each and every moment, including when I decide to block her on social media, because I don't like the feeling of censoring myself based on what I think she'll see me post about, because the stuff that I'm posting about isn't even necessarily about her. It's about the emotional experience that's coming up and arising from any given moment. And I think that if I'm starting to worry and filter, that's not a state that I want to be in.
Inauthentic, which is against everything that you really stand for.
Yeah. So I share that because I don't want to pretend that like I've got uncoupling or relationships figured out. I think that one big lesson for me is that love is not empirical. Everyone's definition of what love looks like in each and every moment is completely different. And so in one instance, you'd say blocking her, like, don't be that guy. And the other person's like, that's the most loving thing that you could do. Yeah. And which is true? There's no empirical. So what we get to do, once again, is build up our own self-worth to the point where we can honor what feels true for us and know that that's the loving thing. And I feel that so many people get disconnected from their intuitive, instinctual responses because of the fear of how they'll be judged, the fear that they're making a wrong decision, and all of those are based off of their own lack of love for themselves, whether that shows up as the value they place on themselves and what they feel.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. 180 million views, man. Let's talk about that. What has that journey? I mean, that's like an incredible. It's like, what what's the one? The only thing that I can think of that maybe has more views than that is what's the one song that the guy in Korea did? I think Gangnam Style. You're like number 2, right? Gangnam Style's number 1. Imagine if you had done that dance while you were
I know,
delivering.
right?
Be the top of the charts.
We got to orchestrate the virality a little better.
How has that experience been for you, though? I mean, that's a pretty, quite the, exposure from where you were prior to that, right?
Yeah. There's so many perspectives on that, because it's been one of the most challenging experiences of my life. Really? Actually, yeah. I went into a full-blown break. It's all part of the show, so you can watch it because the poem went viral while I was making the show. But I got sick, my body shut down. I got a really bad flu for 5-6 days. I really don't get sick, so it was a thing. And I started getting hundreds of messages a week. And I get messages every day still about the poem, every single day. I now filter my emails. Like people are filtering those before they even come to me. And the thing is that it came through in a way where it's this message of self-love. And so it's beautiful because yes, the poem's dope. Like it's well done, it's well delivered. And that's not why it went viral. It went viral because people are hungry for that message. Yeah. People are ready for that message. And I think that part of receiving that message, people then began to project onto me like I was the savior with this message. And I started getting messages from people, I just keep saying message. I started to get things in my inbox from people
communication
saying all the time, like, I'm suicidal, can you help me? Yeah. I don't know what to do, I'm depressed, I'm going through a breakup, can you give me some advice? And at that point, where my social media was, I had answered everything. Every message I ever got, I responded to. And every comment left on anything I posted, I responded to up until that point. And so I was reading hundreds of messages a week that were people's like deepest pain. Right. And it's taken me almost a year to figure out how to be with that. It's been really heavy. And yeah, when it's got to the point where I was receiving something like, I feel like I want to kill myself, and feeling like in me, like I don't have what it takes to accept this message and respond right now, like I've given all of myself and I need to stop doing that. Yeah, it's been very difficult, honestly. And on the flip side, it's opened up an incredible amount of doors. It's opened up collaborations. My social media went crazy, and now I'm having the opportunity to speak and perform in places that are amazing, and yeah, so I'm grateful for it. But it doesn't. I thought about how people, like actors, have a movie come out and they blow up, and people are like, it's an overnight sensation. Well, that actor made the movie for however long, a month or more, and then the actor had the wait time of the post-production where they're like, this movie, this could be really good, maybe this, and the dream about it, and then you have the press tour and the things. And so even someone who's an overnight sensation from a movie, for example, had 9 months or more to dream about this thing blowing them up into whatever. And mine happened. I didn't even make the, I didn't make the video. I didn't, like, it just kind of happened. And I had no idea. It broke so many records. Like, so I was unprepared. Yeah. Yeah.
That's an incredible trajectory to go. Like you said, that's a great comparison. Like, at least the actor prepares a little bit. Or, I think where I first started to deal with, like, the experience of overwhelm from communications was a very slow, and it certainly, I can't imagine, the numbers that came from that. Like, for me, it was, getting messages every day from podcasts, but then people tagging me and trying to figure out how to manage that and all the other things that I was doing in the world. And quite frankly, I still have work to do on, it's like my inbox now, there's things that are there from like couple months ago that I need to respond to.
The thing that's helped me the most is in getting really clear on where I think my greatest value lies to this planet.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is being a creative channel. Like whether it's poetry or film or other things, music, like it's when I'm in the state that I know I can be in as a creative, because I believe that creativity, we birth creativity, right? We are the surrogates for creative ideas. And so those ideas all exist around us right now. And it's about becoming a match to that idea.
Right.
That's when you receive it in those eureka moments, and then becoming a match to how to actually deliver it out into the world is a whole nother process. Because if you receive something, let's say it's like a frequency of 105, which is this beautiful, pristine thing. If you're operating at a 90, right, that thing's going out at like a 92.
Right.
To the world. So that 105 frequency idea is now a 92 when it enters into the world. And the greatest thing that artists can do on this planet is to clean their own vessels up and really start to pay attention to what food they're putting in their bodies, the media that they're consuming, the kind of people they surround themselves with, the limiting beliefs that they might be holding, that all become an alchemized part of the art that they're creating. And then that art holds that frequency and exists on the planet as a tangible 3D form of matter holding a particular grid on this planet. And so, like, in order for us to transcend, we get to make the world around us support the evolution of this planet. Instead of just creating from the same level of consciousness, we get to create from a higher level, and the artists get to lead the way in that. And I think a lot of them do. But there's also that attachment to the starving artist paradigm.
Yep.
There's the attachment to the tortured artist, where like I know so many musicians and poets who believe that their greatest work comes out of their pain.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to turn your pain into purpose when it shows up. It's another thing to attach the idea that you need the pain in order to live your purpose. That creates an umbilical cord to the shadow that then we have to live with. Yeah. So yeah, anyway,
Oh no, I love that. That is such a powerful share. Because that is, once again, the collective consciousness. It's like, oh yeah, the tortured artist, the starving artist, that's the thing. Oh, you want to make art? Yeah, okay, let's torture you and make sure you have no money. You know, it's like, shit, that sucks.
And everyone's an artist. Everyone is an artist. Like, people who are watching this, like, I'm not an artist, I'm an accountant. You're a freaking artist. Because the thing is that art to me is the expression of someone's creative energy into tangible form. Right? And so whatever that looks like, everyone's creative energy is their unique, like, soul's fingerprint. It's so unique to them. And if they can embrace that their creativity expressed as how they clean their house, how they organize their drawers, how they cook meals for their family, like whatever that expression is, if you're bringing it in your authentic creative expression, it's art. And I believe that if people can embrace the artist within, we're going to see a radical transformation on this planet.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there's so many, you think of so many people who you hear like, oh, you know, I can't play an instrument, or I can't, you know, I'm not an artist. I always like, you know, that always just bothers me because, yeah, like you said, you think about it, if we're one with the creator, right? We're one with the source that creates and animates all things. What does source, God, higher self do? It creates, right? Life is the ultimate, you know, work of art.
And a guitar.
Super inspiring.
I travel with a guitar now too.
Wow. Oh, you didn't even play guitar before?
No, I used to play back in college, and I stopped playing for like 8 years. Okay. Because when I started music, I played piano when I was a child. Like, my parents put me into piano for like 2 years until they said, you need to do a recital, and I said no. And they said, if you don't do the recital, we're gonna cancel your piano lesson. They're like, cancel them. It was like, piano's not going, like, that's not cool to do a recital, Mom. Boy, was I wrong. You wanted, yeah, keep playing piano, kids. Yeah. Yeah, and then I started playing guitar, but when I played piano and when I started playing guitar, it was to try and play music correctly. Mm-hmm. It's like, let me figure out how to play this song right. And so it took the fun out of it. It became another thing that I was either good at or I wasn't, right? And pass or fail. Yeah. And now I don't even know how to play any other songs on the guitar. It's all stuff that I've made up because it just sounds good. It's just like an expression of mine, just another way to express my creativity, and it's so much more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I love what you're saying there. I can so relate, having originally moved, out west here to California from the East Coast in a band. And I remember when we started, it was so joyous and fun. And then we got really serious about like, okay, we need to make it somewhere. All these people around us, bands we were playing with, were taking off, blowing up. Our bass player's brother was in No Doubt. Like, everyone was so successful. And it's like, we're like, okay, now we need to make it. And my friend in the audience here remembers that journey. At first, it was like, I don't know where, there he is. Yeah, it's like, and it went from and then I remember towards the end looking back, and that was really my ultimate lesson towards the end. It was a great, I wouldn't change it, but such a great learning lesson. But that was the biggest takeaway for me, is like, make the art because you love it. Don't try and say, I've got to be this or I've got to be that. I've got to become the biggest artist in the world. It takes all the joy out of it,
And it's funny because whenever evaluating that, it seems like most people go into, is this going to be financially profitable? Like, that's kind of the evaluation. Like, I want it to be, and there can be a lot of, I want to spread my message, but the evaluation of whether to do it or not, the ROI is usually looked at in a financial perspective.
Yeah.
And the thing is that following our highest excitement, following our bliss, following that creativity and creating, the ROI on that is the evolution of your soul, the evolution of yourself as the person you can be in your fully expressed state. And so when you start to understand that, the creation process becomes synonymous with birthing an even like more awesome version of myself. And it removes so much of the fear. It removes so much of the fear because it's not even about what happens with the thing. It's about the process. Like the album, I hope that thing goes out and people are like, I've never heard anything like this, and it wins a bunch of awards and gets, like, I would love that, absolutely. And I didn't even think I was a musician when I started it. And now I'm producing my own music. The evolution of that is so worth that thing being heard by very few people, and just the process of that experience has changed me forever.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said about this journey with the show. It's like, I hope it becomes the biggest thing ever. And if, like, a small little group of people, like my mom and dad, and, you listen to it after, it's cool, that's perfect. It's the journey and going through the process. And that really is, the journey is the goal. It's so true. And I definitely think that's a really important one to keep in mind when you're taking an artistic journey, especially. So is there anything, what question am I not asking that I should be asking? What's bubbling up for you right now more than anything? Just if I put it to you, like, what's something that's really prevalent in your life that, you feel the audience would benefit from hearing your perspective on?
The bravest people in the world are the ones that are still willing to feel. And I have been going through a really difficult last couple months as this uncoupling, the second one, 2.0, through that process. And a big part of that uncoupling happening because of being diagnosed with depression and my work through that. Because so depression runs in my family, mental health medications and things definitely runs in my family. And most of my life I've battled with it, but I never accepted the title. I've never accepted the label of depression. I'm like, no, I just won't. And I went through bouts with insomnia when I was in college. I used to smoke heroin, and I was a tortured soul in a lot of ways.
Tortured artist after all.
Yeah, and I was molested at the age of 5 and didn't remember that memory until I was almost 31, 30.
Oh,
So
wow.
like all of the stuff that was happening too was me playing out a trauma that I was trying to, help my nervous system find ways to feel better without even knowing the reason why I didn't feel safe to begin with. And so I'm sharing this because when going through the depression and finally getting to the point where I said, okay, I currently am dealing with depression. I have had this for most of my life, but I'm done with it now. So what do I get to do differently? And when I started speaking to some therapists about it, the number one thing that they said to me was, you get to sit in it. Like when you're feeling it, whatever it is, you get to be with it. And the key is to not want it to be gone. And I'm sharing this because I think that right now, I would say it's pretty safe to assume that most people on this planet wish things were different. Even in the spiritual community, we wish things were different. And there's a fine balance between the intention setting of what we desire to see and the harboring of the reality that it's not already manifest. And that works on this fractal level of how we feel about ourselves, and in those moments of feeling like, wow, I feel really hurt right now. I feel really jealous right now. I feel really sad. And being like, I should be happy though. Life is really good. I have this and this, I should be happy. And creating an enemy of what we feel. And same in the collective experience, when we look out at the genocide and the abuse of animals and the factory farming, and we look at those things and say, this should be different. There's no difference. We create an enemy to what is, and it prevents us from ever actually, in my experience, ever actually transcending it and moving it and evolving it, which requires the embracing of it. The actual depression, the actual feeling moves when it's been fully welcomed and embraced. And in that moment of like, when I say to my nervous system and the fear response that might show up, when I say, you can take as long as you want, be here. You want to cry, we'll cry. You want to scream, we'll scream. And I'm here for you, with you, because there's nothing wrong with you. This is just where you're at now. Yeah. That creates safety. Safety allows for a depth of feeling that wasn't previously available. And the same thing, again, fractals out when we look outward, where we see so many people right now just arguing, and you see what's happening politically, and it's just, and the thing is, what's underneath all of that is people do not feel safe. Right. People do not feel safe. And so the only way that they're gonna feel safe is if we can meet them in an energetic of, you don't have to change. Think about that. That person who is racist, that person who is abusing animals, to meet them in the energy of, you do not have to change. I accept you for who you are. That creates the safety for them to actually feel. That creates the safety for them to be authentic and allow more of themselves out. And that's the only opening that will allow for an actual change, an actual shift, at least in the direction that you'd like to see. Because otherwise the shift's gonna happen where they're being pushed away from you, further in the direction you don't want them to go. Right. And so I guess my message, because I don't even know what I'm saying, my message is, if you can learn to fully accept yourself and your feelings and your emotions and who you are and what you perceive as flaws, like you can really get to the point where you're like, you are perfect. And that doesn't mean that you're not gonna change and evolve and become even more perfect. But where you're at right now is perfect. If you can get to that point within yourself, then you have the ability to show up and I can view you through that same lens. But if I'm in opposition with parts of my own being, of course I'm going to be in opposition of parts of your being that mirror to me the parts that I'm in opposition with. So yeah, that would be my message. Somewhere in there would be my message.
That's a good message, my friend. Yeah, it's this idea of inviting our demons to tea, right? Whatever arises, loving it, you know? It's like, I've referenced this before. There's a great meme of like Bob Marley cracking up, like laughing, and it's like, once you realize by needing nothing, you can have everything. It's sort of go along with that idea. It's like, I don't need to change something, and that's actually what allows it to be transmuted. You know, what you resist persists, right? What you accept, you move through.
And all the ascended masters of Christ consciousness that we idolize are, the stories are there of them going down into the murders, the rapists, the gamblers, the whatever, and being right there in it. And it's not about saying what you're doing is okay. Like, it's not saying that this is my preference or that I don't prefer that you would do something different, but it's meeting them in a state of unconditional love for them, even if you don't approve of the actions.
Yeah, it's like I was talking about in the opening monologue. If you can, why that perspective serves me, because it allows me to say, oh, okay, you're here, and perhaps I've been here before, and you're going to move through it ultimately. And how do we help everyone who's stuck to move through these things is the only game in town from my perspective. So.
Totally.